All right, guys, grab a pen and jot this down. Today, we're going to go over the SpaceX IPO. I'm going to provide my feedback, what I thought happened. Obviously, I did a short video on this maybe in May, sometime mid May, and I thought it was pretty important to go over the details of what was happening in the industry, both in terms of what Elon was doing, why the capital raise was happening, how the shareholders benefited from it, what the future of space, the space race, the industry, etc., etc. I don't remember all the details, but I'm going to do the post IPO visual or breakdown because I think it's really cool. Now, I'm not an investor in SpaceX. A lot of people have asked me about it. I will talk about my perspective of it. You could do your own research and figure out what you think about it. I think it's very unique. I think it's very important to study this IPO for multiple reasons. Uh, for starters, I'll see how I'll break out the chapters of this video today, but I think it's going to go all over the place. If you have questions or comments about it, feel free to just comment below or just hit me up on Twitter X, and then we'll talk about it. But first up, obviously, Elon's been working on this for 25 years. Now, I've watched the space industry for a long time just because I love cosmos and the galaxies and the stars and stuff like that. But definitely not an enthusiast like many people. Definitely don't know much about rockets. I've studied some of the Apollo missions and some of the lunar stuff that we've done. In now it's been over 50 years, so that's why it's always been interesting to me, particularly the NASA missions. I've been to the JFK, I've been to the Kennedy Center in Miami, and I've seen all the rockets when I was a kid. I loved all that stuff. What's surprising to me in terms of more of a federal government global thing is that the United States probably spent over $10 billion in like today's dollars of what we were doing in the 60s and 70s to do the space race against Russia. It was really important. We had to show our dominance because obviously Sputnik had this satellite in space and there was a lot of fear. And the United States went above and beyond and took us all the way to the moon. Now, our last Apollo mission was in 1972. For some reason, the government decided to stop after investing billions of dollars in the space industry. They decided to stop investing in space. Now, most people will probably be positive about this and say, hey, this is so great, X, Y, and Z. We don't need to spend all this money on rocket fuel and send people to space. We have our own problems on Earth. But they don't realize there were a lot of technologies that came out of the space race. And investing in hardware engineering, rocket science, chemical, material sciences, literally computers. Obviously, there's been all these analogies of like the computers today in your pocket, the phone in your pocket today is like more advanced than what was available to the Apollo missions. And I think that's very, very true. But you spend all these billions of dollars and then, you go to space, you send all these probes and then you send the rockets and then you send the astronauts and you build an international space station and you create these technologies like ventilators and astronaut suits that have all these technical advances, both medical, ventilation, all this stuff that's really important for humanity. And you can look at, there's like a list of technologies that were invented out of the space race from the 1970s. Now, 1972 is a pretty critical year in the United States for multiple reasons, right? We shut down the space industry. We got into the credit systems. We got off the gold system. We started changing the way we invest in the economy, and there are a lot of things that changed in the United States government. And I use the space industry as literally a North Star. That the arteries of America got so clogged that we just forgot how to invest in sciences. And if you don't, like, obviously the DMV is a terrible experience when you show up. It's not smooth. It's not like Uber. It's not clean or like Amazon or anything like that. Terrible user interface and experience. If that's the DMV and then we shut down, the government can't figure out how to get us back to space. Obviously, the most recent example, I think, was in either 2022 or 2023 in the Biden administration when the astronauts at the International Space Station got stuck. We couldn't figure out how to get them back, and SpaceX was the only company in the entire world that could figure out how to get our men and women back to Earth. And that's unacceptable. That's the U.S. government failing its own mission. Unacceptable. So for 50 years, we didn't have literally a way to get back into space. At least send humans back into space to Mars, the moon and beyond. Obviously, Elon had this vision 25 years ago. He created the plan. He funded the company with $100 million, and it took, I think it's 25 or 22 years, and it just like this slug of hard engineering all across. Obviously they have well recorded all of their failures, the rocket launches. I think they send the Falcon 9 rockets like every other day, like every 3 days or something, and like 160 flights a year or something like that. And it's amazing that they could do all this stuff with like, I think they raised less than $20 billion in the life, like $2 billion a year over the life of SpaceX. And the IPO had a successful green shoe. So initially it was going to raise 75 billion, but it has oversubscribed demand that it raised 85 billion. So now he has more than three times more capital available to him, and he got all of that money in one shot. And obviously he's done a couple deals since then. And obviously the major ones before the SpaceX IPO that are worth noting are he went ahead. First, he obviously had bought Twitter. So then he built XAI, which is Grok. XAI has these massive Colossus data centers, 1, 2, and 3, I think, over 300,000 GPUs. He then merged XAI with X. So now Twitter, social platform X, is powered by Grok, which the algorithm is amazing. You have access to the AI, which is it's definitely in the top 4. Like Grok Imagine, I recommend to everybody. It's a great tool. Grok Build is a new developer tool. Grok Real-Time News is obviously very good, is the best. And then he's got these data centers. He's got excess data centers. He's got the best data centers. He's building the fastest. They're obviously NVIDIA GPUs. He's got excess data centers because he hasn't put all the systems online yet. So he has so much excess supply that he's become the supplier of Anthropic, which is the fastest growing probably AI coding company. I think they like requested like $2 billion a month in revenue. Google, that they have significant demand because they cannot if they have all the capital, they literally do not have the data centers to put online. Then I just saw something with Reflection AI, so a smaller company that does like $2 billion a year in revenue agreement with Colossus. So that's the on-ground data center business. That's not even space yet. He obviously merged XAI into SpaceX, so now it's SpaceX AI. He went ahead and did a licensing deal with Cursor, which is the number one coding agent for developers on desktop. $60 billion. He's exercised that deal after the IPO. He's done a few more things in between. Obviously, he's got these plans to, one, build a base on the moon. NASA's doing something similar with Jared Isaacson. SpaceX is planning to send more rockets into space. Obviously, I think the Starship is having their next launch, I think, in July. They have the capability to now send way more. I think there's like upwards of 50 Starlinks, which is their broadband telecom unit, that can send satellite communications in space. It's extremely affordable for the average consumer. It provides access to internet in even the most rural places in the world, which is amazing. It's provide global coverage. It's actually designed to provide galactic coverage, which is going to provide the intergalactic communications between planets and space stations and rockets. And it's pretty amazing that I think he's done over 90% of the space satellite payload in the world. It's like 10 times greater than the next 10 combined. Now Starship is going to deliver these at like scale and rapidly, because obviously they can send rockets really quickly and they come back. And then, so the connection between the satellites and the data centers is he wants to send orbital or create orbital data centers in space so that he has infinite access to infinite compute in space, and he can just basically figure out other ways to get over other bottlenecks like radiation problems and like maybe replacement of GPUs in space, as opposed to focusing on like regulatory bottlenecks like on Earth, on Tennessee, in the US and other countries, where like it's all constrained by like the metal, by the regulations, by the energy, etc. Elon's just betting we have infinite energy in space. We have infinite space in space, so we could just build these like what in scientific world it's like the Dyson sphere, which like create a connected satellite communication, and it has like hundreds of thousands of GPUs basically in space, probably millions to be honest. In the orbital data center, it's just doing AI stuff. It'll probably generate like 100 times more intelligence than any human that is capable of even thinking of. Uh, his plan is to build a lunar base where he could have a mass driver and send out these satellites. So you don't even need a rocket. You just send it out like a slingshot, like because the gravitational pull on the moon is way less, and I don't think there's an atmosphere. So like you could just send things out with very little restriction or limitations or friction. Is the right probably the right word. So he's planning to, I don't know how many, let's just say a million satellites, which would be insane, and then build these GPUs in space and then figure out how to bring in this intelligence and send it back to Earth, which is more reasonable than building it on the ground, etc. And then the final spot is like how to build new rockets, better rockets, how to build a space colony, how to build a, better, probably better space station and go above and beyond. It's like different atmospheres, like in different planets, different atmospheres. And I think he's pretty much built the launch pad, literally. And I think the most important thing is, he spent 25 years or 22 years raising $25 billion or something like that. And then, like, he goes out and raises 85 billion, has a successful IPO, and went all the way up to like from, I think it started at like 137 to $200. Obviously, it's a $2 trillion business. I don't remember the revenue, but let's say it was like 10, 12 billion. But he signed multiple revenue contracts, so he's quickly getting the revenue up to like 50, 60 billion as quick as possible. And then he's already built Tesla to $100 billion annual revenue run rate, so he knows how to build a $100 billion revenue run rate business. In the SpaceX example, he can get it well beyond. He thinks obviously he can do $1 trillion in revenue, I think in 2020, 2031 or something like that, he said. I would never bet against him. I'm not a space guy. So the reason I'm not investing or I'm not interested in terms of like, oh, I can make money off of this or something, is I genuinely don't know anything about space and rocket science. I don't know the economics of sending a rocket launch. I don't know anything about the payloads. I don't know about the energy constrictions. I don't know about all these things that can happen. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of key man risk. There was a tremendous amount of risk when it came to Tesla as well. And you're basically betting on innovation, and then you have a valuation that's always going to be trading at a premium, so you're never going to get it at a discount. And you have to continuously bet that he's going to continuously innovate. And I think that's very likely. I just don't know. Like, I didn't know that we could have $1 trillion market cap company. He looks like he can get to 10 trillion. And that might be a 5x. And it's viable because all he has to do is do multiple revenue deals and then deploy the 85 billion that he has available now, which he probably has a plan to deploy it in 2 to 3 years, 3 times as much, which he did before. Now all of a sudden he can do it. He's going to accelerate. I don't think we can even imagine how many, like a Starbase times 5, hundreds of thousands of satellites, maybe Colossus times 5. So like super intelligence, best communication, best rockets. I think that is a multi-trillion-dollar business. I just don't know like even how to value it. So I'm not cautious. I'm just wary that hey, I'm the problem here, and I recommend other people approach it through that lens. You just need to admit, this is a one-on-one company, so you're not going to find a comparable. You're not going to find a good valuation. You're really not going to talk to any experts because the experts that work in space probably work at SpaceX or a smaller competitor. And I love to end on this one note about people love to talk about immigration and intelligence and the need for a talent from these countries. SpaceX is considered advanced weapons technology, literally sending rockets. It is a government contractor. Starlink has Starshield that provides defense communications to multiple governments, particularly the United States. It is very hard for Elon, being an immigrant himself. He cannot simply hire immigrants because unless they have a very specific technical expertise, like a PhD in a specific science. to work at SpaceX. Now, SpaceX has about 22,000 employees. 4 to 5,000 of them became millionaires because of the SpaceX IPO. But he cannot simply hire people from other countries to work on rocket technology because it's considered advanced weapons. So all of SpaceX is actually has been American ingenuity. Like the best technology, best hardware, best manufacturing, best sciences, best software is all United States American, like purebred, our own people, engineers. So that's definitely impressive. He might be able to, 30,000 employees, so he'll have rapid hiring. He'll have advanced sciences. He'll have more factories and more facilities. So it's amazing to see this company's actually purebred American. They definitely have the talent. They have the resources. They have the capital. I do not doubt that they're going to be a large business, but I do recommend just being wary that you do not understand it. I do not understand it. I don't think most people will understand the valuation and the typical DCF cash flow model, comparable models will not work with the SpaceX because this will be 101. There will be no one else to compete with this because he's simply so far ahead. And I commend it. I think it's amazing. I think you can learn a lot from this because it breaks all the beliefs in the stock market. It breaks all the beliefs in the capital markets, in technology, and above and beyond. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a user of Grok. I want to use Starlink. I've used it. I want to use. I'm going to have more needs to use it because I think it's going to be much better. I think it's provide higher speed internet. I think they provide direct to cell coverage now too. Uh, I want to go see a rocket launch because I think that'll be amazing. I want to see more things come out of SpaceX. I do want to see them to have the best AI. So XAI Grok, I love that, and I recommend that to everybody. So I commend it. I recommend it. I recommend just studying how different this company is, because more people will replicate this model. It's successful, maybe on a tinier scale, but it is successful. It's amazing to live throughout it, and I think it went very well. Obviously, the part I haven't spoken about is the retail allocation, which was like 20% of the SpaceX IPO was allocated to people who literally you could go on the X app and buy a block of shares or ask for an allocation through Robinhood, Charles Schwab, TD, Fidelity. And retailers were able to buy 1 to 10 shares, maybe 100 shares. So he really got a lot of people in, a lot of demand. It's very interesting. I obviously think there's still a lot of potential for the X app that I use every day. Obviously, it'll become a money system and payment system. So that's a different, we didn't even talk about that, but obviously that's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, maybe tens of billions. So very excited, but tread cautiously, not because the company will be bad or anything, but just for yourself to say, hey, this is the potential. This is what I do not understand about the potential. And just understand there's always going to be a gap. I know there's a gap for myself. So I think everybody else has something similar. If you know something better, comment below. I'd love to learn more.